So a little over a year ago, I did a video on the Titan OTF knife, and I just thought I'd update you guys to let you know how well this knife has held up in a year, just in case anyone was still kind of on the fence of buying one because they are budget knives, they're cheap. I think I only paid like 30, 35 for mine, and honestly, it's taken a lot of abuse. Look at this knife. This has been my everyday carry knife almost the whole time I've had it. I mean, honestly, the whole time that I've had this, over a year, I think I can count maybe 10 to 15 days, if even, that I didn't carry this knife. And I want it to be known that I was not gentle on this knife. I used and abused the hell out of this knife. I used it for absolutely everything. I've thrown this knife, not at trees or anything like that, just like tossed it around. I've tossed it on tables. I used to keep it in a drawer and I would just toss it in my drawer. I would toss it to someone who wants to see it and they'd fumble around and drop it. And I've dropped it on concrete more times than I care to admit. This thing has been beaten up, used, abused, and it's still going. And there's some stipulations there. I'll get to that later. But yeah, so let's talk about the appearance of this knife. As you can see, it's very well used. This knife looks like it's 10 years old already. All the black is coming off. And like I said, I've just been tossing this knife around. I dropped it a lot. Look at the top here. I carry this in my pocket literally every day. It's in and out of my pocket. I use it for everything. And I've beaten the absolute crap out of this knife. So, yeah, if you're going to get one of these knives and you're not going to use it as hard as I would, or as hard as I do, this black paint will hold up a lot better. So mine, I don't know. I actually kind of like the way it looks all wore out like that. Now, when you get these, they have like this sandpapery grip tape and these inserts here. There's two on the front and one on the back. Mine was really wearing out, and I thought it looked kind of stupid. So I just peeled those out, and I like the look and feel of it a lot better. Honestly, I thought it was too sandpapery. It felt like I was tearing my hand up when I use it, and my fingers. I just didn't like the way it felt. So I'm glad I peeled those off. And yeah, I mean, like, the glass breaker thing has never come loose on me. The belt clip is still very solid. And there's still a lot of tension in here. Now, let's talk about the blade for a minute. It still pops up. And like I said, there's a stipulation here I'll get to later. But the blade is still really nice looking, actually. I mean, there's some scuffs and stuff camera's not really going to pick it up too well. I got some scratches in here and stuff you're not going to notice. I don't know how this blade looks as good as it does, because like I said, I've used this for everything. But it still takes a great edge. Being that it's only 440C, it doesn't hold that edge very well, so I've had to sharpen this blade a lot. Because like I said, I use it for everything. Everything you can use a knife for, I use this for. And I've sharpened this so much that this part's done. It's really rounding out. So, yeah, I mean, it was more of a drastic tanto point. You can see how round that's becoming from all the sharpening. It's kind of crazy. But other than that, this thing is insanely sharp yet. And still insanely pointy. That tip, I've stabbed so much stuff with it, and that tip is still perfect. Very, very impressed with this knife for the amount of money I paid. Now, when you talk about that stipulation, recently I had a problem with misfires on this. Almost every time I hit the switch, it would misfire. And if you don't know what misfiring means, it means the blade would shoot up partway and not come all the way out. And I thought I had used and abused it so much that this blade was just done for. So I was really sad about that. It's been my go-to blade. I love this knife so much. And I figured, well, it's time to retire this blade. It's not going to work anymore. 9 times out of 10, it misfired. And it was a pain in the butt to deal with it, constantly pull the blade out and reset it and hope it worked and didn't misfire. And so I set it in a drawer and I started carrying a different pocket knife, and honestly, I hated it. I missed this knife so much. It felt so much better in my pocket to have this, and the other knife just really annoyed me a lot because I'm so used to this one. So what I did is I went and I ordered a new knife, and no, it's not a Titan. This time I got a Lightning brand, and I'll show you that when I get it. It should be by this weekend, probably Friday or Saturday, hopefully. So I'll do a video on that when I get it, don't worry. But I wanted to know if I could bring this back to life somehow, because I figured, there's got to be something I can do to get it to stop misfiring. Maybe it's just dirty or something. Maybe I got to oil it up. I don't know. So I took a chance. And there are 6 screws on the front, and they're really funky screws. I did not have a screwdriver that fits them. It's like little tiny stars, but they're not really properly stars. Like, some don't have the points on them. They're really weird screws. So I took one of those little precision screwdrivers, little flathead, and it worked really well. And you pop this top part off, and then the trigger comes off, and then there's the internals, and there's not much to it. It's very easy to figure out, actually. And when I started taking the screws off, there's all this black stuff that started coming out of them, and it was just so dirty and so gunky. And I cleaned every little screw. I cleaned the plate inside and out. I cleaned everything. I took some WD-40. I scrubbed it all clean. And I took everything out that I could take out, and I cleaned everything, sprayed some WD-40 in it so it rides smoother, wiped everything nice and clean, and I put it back together, and no more misfires. I would say it's like brand new again, but it actually works better than when I got it. Like, it doesn't have the same thud sound to it, which, I don't know, I kind of missed that because it was like, thum, thum. It was just a weird, hard-hitting sound that showed you that it had some force to it, but it's so much smoother now than it ever was before. And since I cleaned it and took it all apart and oiled it up and everything, I haven't had a single misfire. This thing is like brand new again, despite the appearance. So if you have a cheaper OTF that keeps misfiring, it's just not doing too good. Like, it's acting pretty crappy and sickly. Just open it up. Make sure you keep in mind how everything goes back together, because I had a little problem with the trigger. I kept trying to put it on upside down and it wouldn't work and whatever. But keep in mind how everything goes back together. It's actually pretty simple when you open it up. There's not a whole lot to it. It's just the top part, the trigger, a spring, and then a plate that pops out. And then the knife doesn't come out. It can go up and down, but it can't come out. So there's not a whole lot to it, but you've got to make sure you put it back together properly, or else it's not going to work. It's really not that hard, okay? So if you have a cheaper OTF, like a Lightning, Titan, anything like that, and it's misfiring a lot and it ain't doing too well, open it up carefully, clean it thoroughly, and carefully put it back together, and it'll work like a champ again. This is like a brand new knife. Now I'm so excited to carry this again. So now I bought a replacement for this, But this thing's working like brand new all over again. But that's okay because I've been wanting to test out a Lightning OTF for a very long time. I know they're really good knives that made in Taiwan, and so is this. It's basically the same quality as this. So I know what I'm getting into, and I'm really looking forward to it. And it's just going to be a struggle for me to decide which one to carry every day. Honestly, this sounds silly, but I might go both because I just can't. I love OTFs, and I just can't give this one out to carry another one, or I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, this is how the Titan OTF has held up in over a year. And keep in mind that I've done terrible things with this knife. I've done things with this knife that would make anybody cringe. I was never gentle with this thing. Never. Now, I got this because I love OTFs and I really wanted just to collect it. But I decided to carry it every day and figured, well, I might as well use it. And then started using it. It worked really well. I was like, well, I might as well start using it hard and push it to its limits, and it ain't got no limits. This thing keeps going. So if you're looking for an OTF and you're on a budget, or if you just want a cheaper one to play with, these Titans are insanely good for the price. It's like $30-$35 for this. Check out at Lightning OTF Knives on Instagram. Jay will hook you up. I bought from him quite a few times. I just bought the Lightning from him. Cool dude. Lots of OTFs, lots of stilettos, knuckles, all kinds of stuff. He'll get you hooked up with whatever you need. So, at Lightning OTF Knives on Instagram. So, check him out. And don't be afraid to get yourself a Titan. And keep an eye out for my Lightning OTF video that's going to be coming soon. And I'm sure you already know I'm probably going to give that a great review too, because I know the quality is just as good as these. And don't be discouraged by the fact that they're made in Taiwan. It's better than China. I've had a lot of knives made in Taiwan, and their manufacturing is actually pretty good. And like I said, I could not have used this knife any harder, and it's still going strong. So definitely look into getting yourself one of these, even if it's just for a cheap toy to mess around with. You won't regret it. It's held up really great. If you got a knife that's acting up, take it apart, clean it. It'll be good as new, maybe better than new, and it'll save you a lot of hassle, a lot of money. So that's pretty much it. Make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe, and anything else you want to add, let me know in the comments down below.